How are you?
Oh, I'm exhausted.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just back. These for sitting? May I sit on them?
Please do. Yeah.
Hey, Ben. Good, how are you? Hi.
What's up?
What's up?
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, good. You guys are coming by the crib after this, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Fun time.
All right.
Break out that special cabinet.
Yeah.
Here's a donation.
Oh, you're sweet.
From us too.
Thank you, guys. That's
Thank you.
nice. Thank you. No, my honor. Yeah.
Ask, or did you ever set up a Venmo
Oh,
donation?
sure. Yeah. Yeah, I got a Venmo. Here, if you want a Venmo.
Didn't change it to Venmo?
I know it's such a good idea. But no.
Then, you know what?
Okay,
Never
cool.
have cash.
Okay, you're sweet. Thank you. Okay, that's nice. Doesn't matter. It's just good luck. Yeah, that's good. Why am I even doing this to you?
Hi.
Hey, dude. How are you? Oh, fine.
You want to dance?
It's like kind of warm in here, right? It's kind of an exciting development. There's warmth in the world again. I'm gonna go piece by piece here.
Somebody at the spot.
Anywhere but there. You can't sit there. Okay. Delivery someone a lot cooler in my head.
The last time I tried to do this, it really made a exciting explosion. Could happen again. But a little bit less, so we'll see if that's good. Let's try. A peanut-free product.
Hey, really?
Of course it is.
What is it?
They're ginger cookies.
Like ginger
Oh, I'm,
snaps?
Yeah. Oh, you're allergic to
yeah,
ginger.
I don't even want to make the jokes, I don't make light of that.
Are you really allergic to
No,
ginger?
No, it's just.
Oh.
I was
I
gonna
started to
get
say
it
it and I was like,
being
that's
difficult
awesome.
and then not be difficult, but then he ended up being difficult on the topic of not being difficult.
No, I love ginger.
Right? Well, that cookie is it's caramelized peanut butter. It's like one of those little like toffees. It's so interesting. I feel like today, like literally like having a peanut allergy because it's so widely known.
Yeah.
Yet still, there's such a large percentage of people that don't have it that I feel this, it's like half and half, you know?
When I was like a kid, I remember one of my friends had a peanut allergy and at the cafeteria, there was just like something in this, there's some kind of contamination, and he was sick and brought in like paramedics and stuff. He was all right, but like it was like a big anaphylactic reaction and everything, so. Yeah, can we be serious?
Yeah.
Have you ever had it?
Oh, hells yeah. My family never believed that I was allergic to peanuts when I was a kid. So I would just have to I was a picky eater as a kid because I allergic to peanuts, right? And I'm the only one in my family, they never believed me. And so I would have allergic reaction after allergic reaction and doing the research. Every reaction I get with only a peanut allergy is worse than the previous one.
Oh, yeah.
So it's gotten to the point that like
I think it's a recently coming out too. Like,
it really is
Yeah.
now, like more and more. It's just like becoming a genetic, and it happens in the embryo. When literally when the sperm needs to egg, like there's a certain DNA. Hey, thanks.
Yes. Here, highly optional prayers. That's some highly optional prayers. You still have your highly optional prayer. Okay, cool. All right. You still can't take here. I'll help. I'll help. I can't help you, but you had it. Okay. Errol, you can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Yeah. Here. Okay, nice. Yeah. Now thumbs to your pinkies. Yeah. Thumbs grab your pinkies. Yeah. So right. Now, yeah. Right. Pointer fingers grab your middle fingers. That's it. Yeah.
So
I've never been more
these are just straight up.
Yeah. Bring fingers to the back of each other. Pinkies cross and thumbs grab your pinkies. Then your pointer fingers grab your middle fingers. Yeah. Yeah. Look at you.
Heck yeah.
All right. Okay, cool.
It doesn't matter if it's on top or.
Probably does. No one ever taught me that part.
On the like,
Yeah.
the ones that have been in India, it doesn't matter, so.
Maybe it doesn't.
These very similar ones that are like.
I've gotten yelled at for so many like minor protocol things in monasteries. So I bet you, bet you like your left pinky's on top, you're gonna be born as a dog. I don't think that's true. Yeah, so option for the first prayer that says Mandel, okay, which is corrupted Sanskrit in Tibetan for mandala. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. And then I can set this to ignore setting. Yeah. Cool. Sashi Puki Chukshin Metok Dram Rirab Lingshin Yende Gempadi Sangye Shingdu Mikte Uwargi Drokun Nandak Shingla Juparsho Idam Guru Radna Mandalakam Niryatayami. The next one is right page that says Kyabdro Semke. And then we say that 3 times. Sangye Chudang Tsoki Choknam La Jangchu Vardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chinshki Pe Sonam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupar Shok Sangye Chudang Tsoki Choknam La Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gipe Sonam Ki Drola Venchir Sangye Drupar Shok Sangye Chudang Soki Choknam La Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gipe Sonam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupar Shok. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Sure enough. Don't mind me, Ariel. I'm coming back. Okay. Yeah, so I wrote a bunch of gobbledygook on the board that that you can't read, but like some part of me is like planting a seed that 73 lifetimes from now you'll teach me Tibetan, and then I'll finally get it down, and we'll refer to that. But there's this section of the Lam Rim. Do you guys remember what's a Lam Rim? It's okay to not. These are all roughly in the vicinity of the right answer. What about you?
The
Cool.
right, it's but the path is,
Where's the path go? Tuscaloosa.
isn't the path to enlightenment?
Great. Yeah. Cruel. Yeah. Lam Rim. Yeah. Right. Which means it's, I don't know what, Marga Crumma. What's that?
Yeah, path. It's like order perception.
Cool. Yeah. We'll say steps of the path. Yeah.
Steps.
Cool. I can get away with that. I don't know if that's the right
So like
Sanskrit.
a
Really.
Mukta Marga kind of thing.
What Demarga? Mukta. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Stages of the path to enlightenment, where we are in it. Okay. It's super traditional to talk about a teacher. And this is heavy if you read the reading. Okay. It's heavy. I find it difficult. And I just think like we can talk about the traditional, and it's in the homework if you want to do the homework. And if you don't want to do the homework, no one cares. But it is traditional to talk about what are the like 10 qualifications of a teacher. And it's nice to review why I don't have them. But I think it's also really nice to have a discussion about the role of a traditional teacher in like a traditional spiritual path, and whether that's like appropriate or not appropriate for us nowadays. Like I think it's become like a super problematic thing in modern times.
Are you talking about like a guru?
Yeah, they are. At this point in the book, they're totally talking about a guru. Tibetan word for guru? Yay, Lama, you got it. Yeah, good. You could have done it. If you really look deep inside, you could have done it. Yeah, right. Yeah, Lama means guru. Okay, in Tibetan. It's a 1-to-1 correlation. Okay, it's exactly that. All right. What qualifies someone, we're going to talk about it, right? It'll basically be the discussion of this class, right? Like what exactly qualifies someone. But it's considered a really big deal to take one. I mean, yeah, what do you think? I mean, I'd kind of like to be a fairly discussional situation. I don't know. What do you think about the role, Dave, of, just honestly, in modern times or something, like someone wants to learn a little Buddhism, a little yoga, a little something. There's a tradition, okay? If you read in the reading, okay, that if you think badly, all right, about someone who has taught you so much as a letter of the alphabet, then you'll be, I don't know, like born as a flea on the butt of a dog, 1,000 times. I don't think it literally says that. Okay, it probably just says a dog. I'm making it worse. But like that bothers me, okay, personally. All right, I think that I have a problem with that. Like also being like mindful and attentive and even critical of our teachers can be like a big opportunity for growth if you have a relationship like that with your teacher. What do you think?
No, I was thinking today about Swadhyaya.
Yeah.
It's like yoga, niyama.
Svadhyaya meaning?
Self-study.
Okay.
And that like they're kind of asking you to study on your own too. Like I think nowadays with these Swadhyaya is like just to study stuff. It's not about that. It's like you should be studying on your own too.
Yeah.
And that you need to be self-directed. But that this is contrasted with like being self-directed towards study means like having your own will and critical thinking and everything directed towards learning something you don't know. So it's like simultaneously something where you're totally active, you're totally like doing something yourself, and you're also doing that oriented towards like opening yourself up to something greater than you, just something that you don't have access to, towards something that you don't understand. And yeah, just like kind of that polarity there. that it does require us to have critical capacity to have to like engage our own kind of mental digestion. But if we're just doing that with like getting into the class and trying to be like, well, here's why my teacher's wrong or something like that, we don't learn anything. And we need to have a kind of humbleness towards them, kind of almost like, like devotion. And I think like in terms of like the critical role of teacher, like it could be that you find like something you're like, oh, this is an enlightened being, like I'm just like anything they say I'm gonna do, like that's great by that person. But also it could just be like, can you see that anybody who's teaching you in any context as like, if I really believe in that teaching, then at least in that way, in that context, like they are enlightened, or in that way, in that context, they're serving to me as a vehicle of like grace, or a vehicle of salvatory procession.
Yeah, it's hard. That's hard. You're right, and potentially dangerous. And I think it's really important to say, right, to be very clear that like there are more lineages that I'm aware of with like more famous lineages that I'm aware of with famous cases of abuse or teachers being, you know, bad with their students, sexually, financially, you know, I don't know, some other creative ways I bet we could come up with. And yet there's this traditional thing, you know, like this is a part of the traditional thing, right? And my bit A is not to be whatever. I'm not here to be whatever, a teacher with a capital T. And like I said, whatever, we're going to talk about the qualifications. I don't have them. Okay. I'm not the guy. And so, but I also have a real affinity for that system. I have traditional teachers. Okay. And also one of the nice things about my, you know, one of my main teachers is he really lets me contradict him a lot. And I'm really a pain in the ass with him. And I think that I came up to him once not too long ago, right, in the past few years. And I was like, look, you know, I don't know, like I wonder sometimes borderline learning disabilities, okay, that I really have a hard time sitting still and learning in some traditional ways that other people do. But like, you've always let me like butt in and ask questions in the middle of times when it might not have been appropriate to ask questions, and put up a fight when I didn't agree with something. And I think it's why I was able to learn from you, you know, and thank you, you know. And I was kind of ready for him. I was kind of nervous to say it because I kind of thought there's a chance that he was going to be like, yeah, about that. But no, you know, he was like, no, it's like we all learn from your, you know, from you asking difficult questions. And I don't know, you know, there's a tendency you'll see, I don't know if you're whatever, hip to modern conversation around spiritual topics. There's some real pushback to the idea of gurus, and whether it's a corruption of the thing, like whether it's a corruption of yoga or a corruption of Buddhism, that there's so much emphasis on gurus. And I think it seems to me really clear, A, it's always been a part of the thing, okay? You can't say it's a corruption of the thing. You could disagree with it, okay? That's cool, all right? To say, I don't believe that that part of the system works well, or that that part is good for me, or good for Americans, or good for any human. I think that's a really reasonable position to take and an interesting conversation to have, you know, personally. But it's always been a thing. It's always been a thing. But then what's a guru? I don't know. What do you imagine off the top? We're going to go through a list of traditional things. What do you think? What do you imagine? Like, what's a guru? What would you think a guru's got to be?
I think about, we were actually just talking about this. I think about Vishnu Ghosh.
Yeah.
And how he was Bikram's guru.
Yeah.
And it's reading the lineage, how I feel like for some people, like gurus are kind of like we're just, I feel like it's like not a one size fits all type of thing. Like for some people, it could be nice and easy to kind of take some part of that out, like how it was really emphasized. Like my guru says so, when your guru says anything, you just say yes and do it.
Yeah.
And I see how that, like, there is a lot of room for the abuses that
Yeah.
come out of it, and
Yeah.
also not being so good and bad. I feel like there is a reason why it's been for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Because it kind of gives way to, like, I feel like it's a way to give one could find purpose. Like, oh, like, I don't know. Like, here I am sitting here, like, right, trying to figure out, like, what am I doing? What am I supposed to do here, like, while I'm on this earth? And then,
Well, the idea of learning certain things without a teacher. Right.
yeah, totally.
I mean, it's yeah, that's all well and good. You want to be a concert pianist, but like, I don't know. And like, yeah, probably someone can do that from YouTube videos. Maybe, frankly, probably someone can. I can't. I don't think.
That's how I learned.
Cool. Yeah, great. Yeah, totally. Yeah, right. Great.
But I also think, like, when you talk about a guru, like, what is a guru? I think of Vishnu Ghosh, and then, like, you see, like, hearing, like, well, this is what my guru did, and you can almost hear these undertones of, like, I interpret, like, that was traumatizing for the person,
Yeah.
and then the person's like, well, I'm not going to do that, but then someone else is like, my guru did this and I was traumatized, so I'm not going to do that. And then even, like, my teacher, like, wow, I can think, like, wow, that's kind of hardcore, like, I'm going to do this, and then I don't know, like, maybe someone's like, Jordan, show me how to do this, and they're like, well, I'm not going to do that way, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't even know if I'm saying anything right now.
No.
You know, like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say, like, oh yes or oh no, because it's very fluid, and I feel like case by case.
Ariel, I want to know what you think, but I don't know if you'd be heard. What if I blare you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we can hear you well.
I think a good teacher is somebody who understands the books, not just the first book, but all, 14 books? No, 18 books.
Oh, yeah, cool. Okay, great. Yeah.
All 18 books, and can, like, lead you down the path and answer your questions, because without having somebody who understands everything, like you're saying, it's easy to take a misstep and focus on the wrong thing. And especially because they're coming from ancient texts, I think it's easy to misunderstand things, because the way that we live is just so much different.
That's good. I like it. Look, let's talk about it. Okay, let's talk about it a little bit. All right, and I'll scribble some blah blah here, and I'll write some more legible blah blah here. Okay. This is here. This doesn't do anything. As my wife would say. Okay. She does say hiya a lot, right? Have you heard some hayas? It could be, she could be like picking up a sandwich. Hiya. Okay. Shenyan. Okay. Shenyan is Mitra. Okay, which is short for like Kalyana Mitra.
Like Dharma Mitra?
Yeah, sure. Dharma Mitra. What's Kalyana Mitra? It's like it means like spiritual friend.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
friend is Mitra, yeah.
Yeah, Mitra. Yeah, Dharma Mitra is like your Dharma buddy. Yeah. Yeah, it's sweet. Related to the word Maitri, which means love, friendship, love. They're all related words. It's cool. Shenyan. Okay, so anyway, we're on the topic of a teacher. Okay. Dulwa. Okay, Dulwa is the first quality. All right. In fact, we'll say Dulwa. Okay, Shiwa. Okay, and near Shiwa. Because those three kind of go together. Okay. Dulwa is Vinaya. Do you know what the word Vinaya means?
Shit.
I'm not always going to know the Sanskrit, but I happen to.
Yeah, what is it?
No, well, I mean, it's actually, at least in Tibetan, okay, and it may be an approximation in Sanskrit. It's like you're going to get like vowed morality, okay, or something like that for Vinaya. but and so often it refers to monks and nuns vows, but more it's actually in Tibetan, it's the word they use for what you do to a horse, for what you do to a wild horse. Okay. Which means you like tame it, right? You like gentle it or something, right? No, that might be cutting its something off.
Breaking a horse.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you break it, you tame it, right? You so this quality of a teacher is not that they do that to you, but that they done had it to them. Okay, that they've been tamed. All right. They've been, yeah, kind of broken like a horse by someone. Generally speaking, though, it refers to like 10 basic good deeds / bad deeds, okay, which is roughly what? Not to kill, not to steal, not to what is it? Commit like sexual misconduct or something.
Is that the 10 Commandments?
Yeah, but it's not the same. Then it's killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, speaking in ways that split people apart. Okay, like did you hear what Dave said about you? You know, like, oh, you like Dave, huh? I mean, you didn't see that look he was getting you? I mean, I know your back was turned, but it's cool. What's that?
Envy being there?
Envy comes later. Okay, yeah. So they're actually 3 of body, 4 of speech, and 3 of mind. It's kind of cool because if, for example, you did a long retreat where you didn't speak, you just like instantly, bingo, bango, 4 of them are done, right? For a little while, you know, it's like a good way to like cheat up a level, right? Right? Yeah. So lying, speaking in ways that split people up, harsh speech, idle speech. This one is uncomfortable for me a little bit because whatever, it's nice to have whatever, a coffee, whatever. We can talk about what TV show we're watching, but it's nice. If it puts people at ease, it's nice. And there can be subtle exceptions to these, you know, like, you know, if you have a friend who just like particularly likes it when you call them, you know, hey, you son of a bitch, you know, whatever, you know, when you go golfing or whatever, what up, ho? You know, or whatever. I don't know. Okay, like if you have a thing, it's okay. That doesn't count. You gotta have a thing, okay? Or it's, you know, not okay. But if you have a thing, it's cute. God bless you. You know, whatever. It's not harsh speech. But and then yeah, you could say jealousy or something, which fundamentally it's like being unhappy when someone gets something they want. You see, being unhappy when something good happens to someone, right? Which is related to jealousy, right? So it's not the same, like, for example, it's not like if I got a really good pen, on a stupid example, but you're like, you know, like if you're like, oh, I wish I had a good pen, you would have to wish that I didn't have it, right? Like I want Ben's pen, you know, it's not just that I also wish I had a pen, Ben's pen, that's the one I need. Or being happy when something bad happens to someone. Schadenfreude, yeah. Whatever, we do this in subtle ways.
Can I say something?
Please, yeah, I love it.
Think about that as like, you know, if we want to like talk about whatever shows or something, that's one thing, but like in a teaching context, and again, like this is informal enough that I think it's okay.
For God's sake.
But it's like if you really are sitting right in front of somebody who like you think of as like, you know, totally enlightened, realized kind of teacher, and they're like talking about sports or something, then all the disciples will be like, okay, well, we have to live up the sports team now. We have to like find everything out. We have to make sure that the Cowboys win because then the teacher won't be happy if they don't. And it's a huge distraction. Like in the place where your word is like sacrosanct, any kind of idle speech would really like just, you know, like, I mean, and I've noticed teachers do this where it's like, you know, I might ask them about something I know is a personal preference that they like or don't like, and they like, I'm like, no, don't ask me about that because like, I don't want you to think that that's important here. I don't want you to think that that's like what this is about. Like we're here to share something that's important.
That's cool. That's beautiful.
So that's my thought on that speech.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Particularly relates to the power dynamic of like the teachers.
I've never really heard a teacher say that, and I think that's really cool. I could tell you you know, a lot of my teachers' preferences, you know, or like
figure them out either way. That's kind of
you
the
do
thing,
figure them out,
right?
you know,
Yeah.
and if like my teacher's teacher, there's an old thing where like my teacher swears that his teacher, you guys don't know who Bill Buckner is, but he's this guy who no one knows who Bill Buckner is. Damn it. Anyway, he's this guy who dropped the ball in the World Series in like 1986 or something, you know, and he swears it was because his teacher was doing mantras at that moment because he wanted the Mets to win. Yeah, right. But also it can be nice, right? I think also, you know, a teacher will also talk about jibber jabber to put you at ease.
Right.
And my teacher will do it. Also, I think it annoys him, but also I think he'll do it. And then the last one is it's wrong view, and that's hard. Like, what wrong view means. You know, it's a greater, you know, like generally speaking, it's like if you think that punching someone in the belly is going to make you happy, right? Like it's a misdeed. It's like the worst kind of misdeed because it's not going to make you happy, right? Because it's going to cause, you know, people to not like you very much anymore because you're always punching them in the belly, and you know, it's a serious impediment to your friendships. So fine, okay. Anyway, that was a long way to talk about Dulwa. Okay, Dulwa, Shiwa, Nir Shiwa. These are actually, there's a reference, there's a thing called the 3 trainings, okay? Or sometimes they call them the 3 extraordinary trainings, okay? Which is the training of morality, okay? The training of concentration and the training of wisdom, okay? So, and that's what's being referred to here, okay? Dulwa, Shiwa, Nir Shiwa, okay? They got tamed, okay? They're keeping the heck out of their, at least, right? 10 bad deeds they're not doing, okay? The 10 we just did. Also, they are peaceful in the sense, Shiwa in terms of Shine, which is shamatha, okay? Which is like the capacity to meditate deeply and be able to concentrate. Now, when they talk about it scripturally, they talk about like, kind of like keeping your mind on your practice throughout your day. So like you can talk about, and we talk about it in class, like, you know, basically perpetually, that, you know, yoga in its strictest sense refers, you know, probably mostly to concentration. And then like, you know, eventually whatever, it's become stretching in, you know, loose fitting pants or tight fitting pants, you know, whatever's working best for you. It seems to, it's got to be one or the other for whatever reason. Medium fitting pants just don't do it. Yeah. Yeah. But the ability to tell your mind what to do and have it stay there, that's peaceful. I think it's interesting because we tend to talk about like meditative peace, almost like you hear people say like, I wish I could meditate so I could just shut off my mind. I don't totally buy that, right? Whatever, like, I'm inclined to think that maybe your brain, you know, as long as you have a brain, like if it's working, meaning you're alive, right? If there's like still whatever electricity pumping through this thing, I don't think that's how electricity works in a brain, but that you're probably always thinking something. But to be thinking fewer things over the course of an hour than I'm used to thinking, not to mention if like over a 5-minute period where I usually think 874 things over a 5-minute period, if I were to think only 4 things or only 1 thing for a whole 5 minutes, that would feel extraordinarily peaceful. You see, and you might have the capacity to especially pay attention to your students' needs. Okay, in the highest form shamatha, which is like the capacity basically to, you know, set your mind on an object at will without it being distracted by thoughts in the background, without any dullness. It's like they say like perfectly engaged. I think like flow state is not a bad modernism for like, you know, like perfect concentration, perfect meditation, perfect shamatha. You're like into it, you know, like you haven't forgotten yourself. You're not like spaced out. You're not like, you're not just letting go. It's not like half asleep. I think it's like, almost like you're going down on, well, I think like you're watching like your favorite movie and like whatever the whatever it's the woman's going down the hall and she's, you know, the final thing is behind the door and she goes to put her hand on the door and, you know, this is the moment where the thing's gonna whatever. You love this movie, you're so into it, maybe you've never seen it, but you don't want to know what's on that door. You've been really into it the whole time, and then she goes and like your engagement in that moment, that's, you know, pretty close, right, to what you would be going for all the time. Or like, what if you had the ability to put that kind of enthusiastic engagement just absolutely wherever you wanted at will?
Would that be like being really mindfully present about what, like being like right now, like being engaged with what you're saying, but like I'm not zoned out, like I'm listening
Right.
and into it and having thoughts and reactions.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that.
Yeah, and then right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's like I don't know. I have this like whatever this weird metaphor in my mind of like operating on the wings of a butterfly. I don't know why this came to me once in retreat. Okay, like if you have to be very precise, but you can't be tight. You know, like your hands can't be shaking. Operating on the wings of a butterfly, they have to be perfectly still, but you can't be like that. But you can't be like, you know, you got to be precise. You know, there's a thing that the Dalai Lama likes to fix watches, apparently. All right. And I think it's gone so for some people. He's, you know, he'll be like, hey, I think I can fix that. And then sometimes their watch gets super fucked up. And sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would break my watch, yeah.
Have you?
No, I would.
Oh, you would let the Dalai Lama break? No, you have not yet let the Dalai Lama break your watch? Yeah, totally. It's a digital. It's not the same. I don't think that's what he has in mind. Yeah, totally. It's probably higher end, you know, at least mechanical watches. Yeah, totally. A friend gave me a lock picking set when I was in retreat. And yeah, I don't know why he had this. But he was like, here, play with this. And I felt like, yeah, this thing of like, to feel the inside of the lock with these little things, to feel the little tumblers, there are these little pins, okay? And each pin is on a little spring, right? And each of the pins will like go up to a certain point and get caught around a tumbler. And you kind of have to feel like with a piece of metal, like there's one, there's the other, that one goes in. Now I got to get that one up to this height, right? And now, right, you can, and you have to be, but you, at the same time, you're perfectly still. You're feeling through this instrument, right? Getting to that state. Okay. So anyway, he's there all the time. All right. A qualified teacher. He, she being a qualified teacher. Okay. Am I in that state all the time? No. And I've had some good meditations. I have had some good meditations. I've been blessed in this life to have some good meditations. But I'll tell you, and we'll do it if you do the teacher training. Okay, we'll do like the classic 9 stages of meditation, and you can just see you did a teacher training, right? There's 9 stages of meditation, and it's not that ambiguous, right? It's not. I think there's an idea in meditation that you can't know. Like everyone's just where they're at, dude. You know, like you can't measure meditation, man. You know, but you can. Like, and it is subjective, okay? But like, you know, did I, you know, and did I think about an eggplant at least once over the course of the past hour? Yes, you know. Can I think about an eggplant twice over the course of an hour? Not yet. Okay, well, we'll call you a 1 then. Right. All right. And that's fine. And if you get up to twice over the course of an hour that you can think of an eggplant, then we'll whatever. Well, then great. We'll give you a merit badge for number 2. And it's not that somehow, you know, obviously it doesn't matter, but it helps you to progress. All right. So I feel like I can tell you with some authority just how far I have not progressed in my meditation. Dua, Shiwa, Nirshiwa. Okay, Nirshiwa is to like take that kind of attention, all right, that kind of concentration, and direct it towards profound questions about the nature of reality. Okay, so like if there were like think like Zen koans, I don't like, whatever, they, you know, I get frustrated with Zen koans sometimes. It seems like it's a question to like stop you asking questions or something, or, you know, like there's no good answer or something to like a Zen question, or it's just like a way to like, you know, have an excuse to like hit your student with a stick or something. But,
Or worse.
or worse. Oh, God, what, you're just thinking nuns and rulers and,
There's some Zen story where like the teacher would always just hold up one finger as his answer to every question, and then one of his students was asked by another student in this lecture, what did the teacher lecture on today? It's like, he went like that, and the teacher came over and cut his finger off because he
bummer.
did this without actually understanding what that really meant.
That's
And
not
in that
great.
moment that his finger was cut off, he wasn't
That's what
Oh, that's terrible.
yeah.
What a jerk. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so chill, you know.
Yeah, it's- right. Yeah, until it isn't. Yeah. So, and especially they mean understandings of emptiness, right? What do you think? Like at this point in our levels of discussion with one another, what's emptiness, Dave?
Emptiness is really understanding and knowing that there's no fundamental essence or fundamental thing or thing that doesn't have like conditions that cause it to come into being or come out of being. Is that right?
It's great. I mean, sort of no, but yeah. I mean, for one thing, right? Wisdom is the understanding, okay? And then emptiness would somehow be that truth, right?
Yeah.
But do things come, you know, are there conditions that cause things? Sure, there are conditions that cause things, you know? I liked fundamental, right? Like a fundamental truth behind things, right?
Well, like, I mean, I might
Yeah.
know that, like, you know, I know that there's a condition that brought me into being, and there's a condition that'll bring me in this body, at least out of being, but I don't really know that. Like, on a daily basis, I kind of act as if that's not true.
That what's not true, that there's a condition that brings you in and a condition that brings you out.
Yeah. Like, my mortality is something that I only occasionally, like, fully grasp.
Yeah, I know.
And then when you bring it up,
Yeah.
you know, other people, it's even more intense.
Yeah, I mean, this was like, yeah, it's a big discussion that I have ongoing with a friend right now about, I don't know, like how much of, oh my God, how much of all of our spiritual practice is a way of like dealing with the fact that we're not dealing with the fact that we're all dying. You know, right, like Ezra asked me the other day, Dad, am I getting younger? You know, no, sorry, son. Yeah, no, none of us are headed in that particular direction.
But yeah, I guess I think in like a grief setting, like emptiness would be realizing, like if you lose something, and I mean this very sincerely
Yeah.
because I have actually lost something recently. There's nothing that's really gone now that was there before.
Oh, that's interesting.
Can you say that one more time?
Like if somebody passes,
There's
Yeah.
nothing that's gone now.
there's nothing that is no longer here that ever was. That ever like actually was.
But in a way that, well, yeah, right. Now
Of
you
course,
throw the
like,
word
I guess
actually.
I can't engage with this person anymore. I can't talk to them and stuff like that. So
Sure,
I keep
right.
bummer, but like, there's no them that was there and no longer is there.
I mean, you know, strictly speaking, right? In a very classical Buddhist presentation, right? What you will find is basically when a teacher talks about emptiness, right? Like if they, you know, in a traditional Buddhist way, okay, or, you know, basically if it's not a segue to talking about kindness, it's probably not Buddhist, right? That there's this idea that there's something about the way we interact with our world that is coloring our world. Okay, the way that you interact with people is coloring your experience of the world. The way you interact with the world, what you do, what you say, what you think, right? Sanskaras, vasanas, you know, dare I say karma. Okay, but that's the word. Okay, the word is karma, and it's such an overused, problematic word now, because now it means like, that's your karma, man. You know, like it just means, sorry, bruh, you know, you just suck, which is not helpful. It's not a helpful way of talking about karma, right? Which technically just means action, right? Technically, it's not even about like some schmutz that's in you. Okay, that's not really what karma means. It's a way of describing how actions produce results later, right? Like, and what's going on between then and now, you know, like if I say something nice to someone, or I think something nice, or I do something nice, why is it that the result could come later, right? Like years later, maybe, right? And then what's transferring that information from one place to another? Now people start talking about karma, okay? Or they'll talk about seeds, right? Sanskaras, you know, bijas, whatever, that like carry that information. I think it's a cool way to talk about it in terms of seeds. I also think it's highly metaphorical, and you can get carried away talking about seeds that are somehow traveling, you know, along inside you. You plant them in your belly button, or the Mashipe Tigle at the heart, or something that they say in some systems is where like all of your seeds stay. But I think it's highly, again, metaphorical. Like something changes in you every time, right? Like we say, every time you do a yoga class, right? Like you just changed, right? Now you're different. You did a yoga asana class, and there will never come a time in the future where you didn't do that class, right? You are welcome to a chair if you want also. Do I have to sit on a chair for you to feel comfortable sitting on a chair? I'll do it. I'm just crazy enough. We'll all get chairs. We're gonna do it. Okay. All right. All right. We'll throw down some chairs. All right. Again, right? If you eat 73 cheeseburgers after a yoga class, have you erased having done a yoga class? You couldn't say that, right? You couldn't say that. Now you've done a yoga class and eaten 73 cheeseburgers. Like those things will always still be true, right? So what are the results that carry on from those things? And emptiness means the lack of a reality, you see, that I could interact, okay? That there's no reality, okay? That I could interact. That didn't come from the way I'm helpless but to see the world, because of all of the stuff that ever came before. That there's a bunch of stuff that came before that makes my mind shaped different from anyone else's mind, right? My mind is just shaped like my mind. And when pieces, parts, pixels come in through my eyeballs, right? My mind assembles them in a certain way that is unique to me, unique to the idiosyncratic individual topography, okay, of this brain hole. And I'm going to see the world a certain way. And that's about me. You see, that's about me more than it's about the world out there, right? Emptiness means the lack of a pen here, okay? That has to be a pen here, even if you're a dog who comes in the room and doesn't know what a pen is, okay? The lack of an interacting with your world free from what you brought into the room, okay? Free from whatever stuff you bring in. Okay, so anyway, to tame yourself, okay, the extraordinary training of morality, okay? Taming yourself, they say, gets you ready for concentration, which they say gets you ready for wisdom, right? How does that work? Basically, good experiment. Next time you want to go meditate, if you guys meditate together sometimes, you know, what I recommend, yell at each other real good first, and then try to meditate, and then see how it goes for you. And you'll see that it just, you can't, you know, you can't. Like a calm, peaceful mind is a kind one. Okay, check it out. Yunten Lakpa. Okay, so you can say, right? Yunten?
Yunten.
Okay, here, I'll do it and I'll Englishify it. Here, Yunten.
Yunten.
Okay, Lakpa. Yeah, Lakpa. Okay, yeah, Lakpa. Yeah, there's actually no place called Lhasa. Okay, Lhasa is not a place in Tibet. It's Lhasa. Yeah, Hla is a deva. Anyway, but that's not what it means here. Yunten Lakpa, Yunten is a guna. Yeah, a quality. All right, here it means like a good quality. It means that their good qualities are more than the student. All right. Good qualities can come in multiple types, you know. Generally, it means like stuff they know and stuff they've realized, right? Which means like it can mean stuff they've studied, but it can mean how they are. Just because you study something doesn't mean it's in your bones. I have a teacher who talks about meditation in terms of unification of mind or something, right? Like if your mind is like an ocean and you think a thought on the surface, it doesn't have that much impact on the stuff at the bottom, the Titanic sitting at the bottom of the sea, or the Endurance. Did you see this? Do you know the unbelievable? Yeah, they found the Endurance. Wow, Shackleton's Endurance. Anyway, yeah, this shipwreck that was missing for, you know, I don't know, 100+ years. Before World War I. Yeah, totally. I know, because a bunch of these guys survived this terrible shipwreck and then went off and died in World War I, which was a bummer. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's yeah, karma. Karma's a bitch, dude. Yeah, yeah, you're karma, man. Yeah, yeah, totally. But if this mass, right, the surface of your mind and the lower levels of your mind, right, were together, we're all moving together, then suddenly a thought you think at the top affects the bottom, right? And so there's something about that state of mind, that it's one thing to have a thought. You can have surface thoughts, but it's another thing to like have a realization or something that when you have a unified state of mind, then you can have understandings that change you to your bones in a way that you can't without the ability to concentrate clearly, they say. Okay.
Samadhi?
Say again.
Do they use samadhi?
Samadhi is used sometimes, but it's a more general term. And you know, Vyasa alludes to that, right? In the opening chapter, in the opening verse.
And I guess like a follow-up question, is there Tibetan word for samadhi?
Ting and Zen. Yeah.
What does it like break down as?
Ting and Zen.
Because I guess I asked because I really like this like etymology of samadhi, where it's simultaneously samadhi and samadhi, or like an equal balanced mind.
Yeah.
And if I find samadhi, like
Ting and Zen is from an older school of translation that was more meaning oriented, which means like the ability to definitely be able to hold something, hold an object, okay? Which is more of a meaning, right? Like sometimes the etymology of a word can go past or fall short of the meaning of a thing, right? So like, right, what does Vyasa say about samadhi in the various states of mind in the right
that it can exist in all the states.
yeah. So there's like kind of a famous thing in the Tibetan system, right? Like also like flies have samadhi, right? Like a fly has the capacity to be able to focus enough to land on feces. But that's not what we're talking about generally when we talk about samadhi, okay? So it would be the ability to have your mind there and stay there. And then even Vyasa clarifies when he's talking about samadhi, he's talking about single pointed meditation, mostly ekagra, okay, maybe Nirodha also, but he's not as clear about that, okay, in the Yoga Sutra. He says explicitly it's single pointed meditation.
And like D can mean holding too, so like the holding of the mind part makes sense there.
Yeah, Zen, right,
And,
yeah.
Yeah, and then, but then it's like to hold something, do you have to like balance it to hold it, or do you have to like keep it together so it doesn't flap in all the directions?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well,
This is my unified mind versus.
well, could you have some sort of tea that was not sama?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very- yeah. But I guess like this discussion too, what's interesting about that etymology here, it's not some modern thing. It's like traces back where they say we could say samadhi comes from samadhi or samadhi, and these give slightly different shapes of meaning.
Right. Yeah. I mean, is. Yeah. Right. I wonder even. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I don't really know. Yeah.
So it just looked to be unified.
Right. I was gonna say. I wonder if it. I don't know. I wonder if it relates to her.
Yeah, it does.
right, to hold a nature. Yeah, right.
That's the root, yeah.
Or yeah, the root, right, from which we get tree, probably. Tree, truth. Okay, you can then talk about, okay, unfortunately here, this spans lines here. Okay, here, well, it's okay because you can't read Tibet. Okay, here, Tsunche, say Tsunche. Tsunche means effort, like they make effort, basically, or they make great effort. But there's a traditional thing that effort doesn't mean effort, like in the context of the perfections, which is not a thing we're going to study right now, but it's big in the, I don't know, famous book called Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life, which is really beautiful. But he gets into this thing about what is effort in a spiritual light, okay? And it means like being happy when you do something nice. That like the heart of it is that the teacher is happy to work hard. It's not just that they work hard. Lots of people work hard and they're miserable about it. And that doesn't necessarily make it a spiritual path, but there's something about being joyful in the work you do. I think it's cool. I think there's kind of an informal Christian conception of what you might call what they might call I don't know, like bearing your cross, sort of, which is like I think it, and again, I was never Christian, so don't let me like appropriate these things, as a Jewish Buddhist who specializes in Hindu thought. But this idea that sort of like your path is what's in front of you right now, like your spiritual path is like, whatever happens to be at the end of your nose on Monday, that's, your personal spiritual challenges given to you from on high is, whatever's parked in front of your car right now, or whatever your car's parked in front of, maybe, whatever you're going to have to deal with, whatever you're going to have to navigate in any given moment. And to navigate that with joy, right? Supposedly, right? This is a qualification of such a teacher. Okay. Lungichu. Okay, say lungichu. Okay, lungichu. Okay. Okay. Okay, lungichu. It means like they are rich. Actually, rich relates to a word for cow. Because right. In fact, I think we have words like this in English. I think the word pecuniary. Yeah. I think comes from cows. Anyway, it's a financial term. But the idea is that like
Cow.
yeah.
Like a cash cow? Like that?
No, like literally if you had a bunch of cows, like if you owned a bunch of cattle, like that's kind of like what it meant in the time to be pretty wealthy, was like you had a lot of animals. That doesn't matter though. And especially in Tibet. Assets like yeah, kind of, right? But in this case, it means lungicho. It means rich in lung, which is roughly agama, all right? Which means mostly, a bunch of books. I think a little tea and cookies, all right? And Ariel, do you have any tea or cookies?
I have so much tea and cookies.
Yay! Okay, I wish I could make some right now. We're gonna have a little tea and cookies, okay, for a moment, okay, and then we'll just get briefly after tea and cookies. Okay. All right. Good.
So good.
All right. Good. Will anyone not have tea?
We will not have tea.
What's that?
We will not have tea.
You will not have tea. All right.
I've had an obscene amount
Don't
of
do
caffeine
it.
today.
Don't do it. Okay. Good. Yeah. You'll have tea. You'll have a little tea. All right. Cool. Here. Yeah, please. Yeah, great. Yeah, totally. Yeah, fine. Now stuff.
Oh. Too many ginger snaps.
Good. Okay, good. Here. Help yourself to ginger snaps.
Mm.
Why did it explode?
This is not a great device for anything I'm trying to do.
It's not a try either.
This is not a trigrader. I should look for that on Amazon.
I'm sure there's.
Something will come up.
Did you boil milk in that?
Hmm?
Did you boil milk in it? Did that work?
No, you see, this is a problem.
I don't know.
Oh, is that what it boils it?
Milk foams, and it's not even milk, but milk and milk-like products.
What is
Good to
it?
know. Is that
Oh,
one?
for God's sake.
It's actually either fun.
Milk
You
and
can
milk.
get a lot of them.
You wouldn't think oat would do that to me.
That's the whole like oat milks are all the ones that they prefer by baristas because they foam. That's why it became trendy. Because baristas like that.
Yeah, you're right. I know it's true. But it is kind of sweet and nice for dry.
Oh, I mean that's why it's good for chai.
Yeah, it is, and I feel good about myself when I'm not hurting cow bosoms. Yeah, totally. They don't need that from me. Which is not to say that I don't drink milk sometimes or eat cheese is the problem. Cheese is the problem.
Cheesecake.
You can get reasonably ethical milk.
Reasonably ethical. Yeah,
No, it's just a subjective assessment.
it is. Yeah. Reasonably ethical cheese, probably. Do you have a brand?
A milk?
Cheese.
Oh.
Cheese is the
That is
problem.
reasonably.
There's a vegan cheese that's
Too ethical.
too ethical.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
We're going reasonable.
It's
It's
not.
not cheese.
We're going like,
It's not
like
good.
rebelliously reasonable. Reasonable.
Just still want it to be cheese, but that's the problem.
like dairy cheese.
I remember there was some article going around like 10 years ago how like cheese was more addictive than crack or something.
Yeah.
Which certainly is not. But there was like, you know, it was like one of these like,
I mean,
whatever.
it probably is. Like, have you had cheese recently?
Yes,
Have you had crack recently?
maybe.
You probably have the first more often.
Yes. Personally.
He's like, maybe,
Mhm.
reasonably.
Two great tastes together at last.
Do you like the like breaking crab?
No. I want to like it.
We just finished it.
Really?
I haven't watched it since I first moved here. Hey, how's it going?
Gosh. I'll be back to tell you about Shanta.
Oh, that's
Yeah. I already raised your car.
What's he doing? That's cool. It's 7 o'clock. All right, that's nice.
More ginger snaps.
Yeah, I don't know. I really wanted to be able to watch Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if I watched it again, I'm curious about how I feel about it now, but I watched it when I first got here. It was a way of introducing me to being in New Mexico. Just to
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. Yeah, totally.
I also think we're all just into really like dark shows at that time. Like every show had to be super dark. It's like if it wasn't, you just didn't trust it. And I'm kind of over that now.
Anthony Hopkins wrote, he binge watched the whole show in like 2 weeks.
Anthony Hopkins.
He really did, like in a crazy way. And he wrote a letter. He wrote a letter to Bryan Cranston, commending him for his performance vision and the whole cast and the whole show. A modern Shakespearean tragedy.
I mean, one thing I think is really interesting about Breaking Bad, like at the time that I first watched it, Game of Thrones lasted way longer, but I was watching them at the same time and I was thinking like, okay, we have 2 intense, dark, like violent shows. And Game of Thrones, I feel like the point at first, and we went in different directions, like life is random. Anybody could die at any moment. Bad things can happen to anyone. Who even knows? Whereas the point of Breaking Bad was like,
Yeah.
there is a
Yeah,
purpose. Something is
How's it
going to
going?
happen. And there's Buddhism.
Hey,
Like, it was, it's like clear.
Trying- yeah, Buddhism and
It's like-
ginger
it's
snaps.
not random. It's like you see the bird stuck
Have-
in
have
animal,
some
and it's
ginger
like,
snap
You don't know
and
yet.
Buddhism.
but this is
In
gonna
fact,
be
you
fun.
could put that, there's a little bit of chai left that you could put in a
Yeah.
cup if you want. It's,
Oh, it is very
it's
constant.
oat milk
Yeah,
inclined.
like there's a very specific choice to
Uh-huh.
make, and that like the choices have
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
specific
Yeah.
results.
Did you do a yoga thing? I'm just learning about Buddhism. So I think I'm gonna start learning Tibetan. I'll teach that instead.
Oh, that would be so cool. God, I wish you would.
Ben was saying they're basically the same language.
Well,
Not so far.
it's the alphabet is stolen directly from Sanskrit at least. Uh-huh.
I guess I could start by learning the alphabet.
Right.
So how does it work? It has like consonants and then vowel modifiers like Sanskrit does? Like this looks like it's probably something.
Exactly right. Yeah, totally. You'll see it's super for you it'll be incredibly obvious.
Yeah.
There are fewer rows and columns.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You do an alternate nostril breathing. Do you do that at all? Like as part of your lineage, like not just like
Oh. Yeah.
You guys do that, right?
Yes, but it's mostly visualized.
Okay, cool, yeah.
So you do it, but you
don't actually use it.
right, you don't use the hands, and eventually, I don't know if I'm doing it or not, man. But you get to the point where you sure think you are.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's great and cool and pretty typical maybe and stuff too. If you were to use the hands, would you do this kind of thing that they do, this kind of standard thing?
Oh, well, I would because I was taught that by Dharmamitra.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, in a roundabout way, I end up at Shivananda with my Nadi Shodhana.
Yeah.
But like, probably.
Oh, yeah, sure, right on. I was watching something where they're talking about Nepalese Shaiva yogis using, instead of this mudra, a Damaru mudra.
Oh, that's cute.
And I thought that was so cool looking.
Oh, that's cool.
And they said the Tibetans do this too. And
Oh,
I wonder, yeah. So that's why I asked.
There's a lot of stuff on
I mean, it's pretty cool, right? You can't hold the two at the same time.
I've seen. Oh yeah, right. I've seen.
You can plug both here.
I've seen one fingered.
Yeah, that's certainly. Did they do the Dharma Mitra? Like
No.
one of the guys, Swami Bua guy.
Dharma's like this.
Yeah.
Right. And then you see other people, right, who park themselves on their forehead.
Yeah.
That's Dharma. And I think I've seen, probably Tibetan is probably even the ring finger.
Yeah, which is with one finger the whole way.
Yeah, but it'd be the ring finger. I think that's more what I've seen. But that's not my immediate lineage.
Yeah. But do you do this mudra?
Not sort of. Not directly.
You have Dharmas, right?
Sure, right. Well, I would use a Dhamma.
Yeah.
I mean, totally.
Now I'm just thinking, but do you use those in your practices? Do you do those kind of practices?
Personally, no. I mean, I have, and there are certain like where you do offerings, right? And you may do certain mudras, right? Where you offer like certain types of whatever type of product, like water to drink, water for washing feet, flowers, incense, candles, what is it? Whatever, like massage oil, what is it? Right food, and then this would be a bell, right? But like you might actually, have your bell in your hand, right? And you would ring it, and then other people will pick up their dharma at that point, and I mostly didn't, but I've been at those kinds of parties, as it were, where there were dharmas jamming, and then, I do, but it's not like one that I'm like blessed to have like a friend gave me like. Yeah, it's small.
Oh, it's small. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it just this big Tibetan?
No, I don't have one of those like. Yeah, no. I've got like Okay, just can we sit a sec? Right, you don't have to go, but you're welcome to go. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I think that was due.
Uh-oh.
So he was supposed to be due today.
All right, then you're not ready for Tibetan then. It's nice to see you, man.
Have a good trip.
Thank you. Oscar, I'm sorry, the time changed. You're an hour late. I know.
Sorry?
Time changed. It's I don't know how it is in Mexico, but in America, there's this collective mental illness called daylight saving time.
Yes, we're changing time like in 2 weeks or something like that.
It's such a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I'm so frustrated about it, especially if you have kids. It's the worst.
It's
'Cause they're right.
actually, so they do it for kids, so that way they're not at the bus stop in the dark, so they're safer.
But it is darker now.
Right. It is darker though now.
Sorry.
Right. It is dark though, right? Now my kid wouldn't have been.
Well, but in the winter, would you rather them be in the cold in the dark in the winter?
Honestly, I would rather kids not have to wake up early in the morning to go to school. I was a wreck. That destroyed me. My personal academic career was so derailed by the fact that I had to wake up early in the morning. I'd like to see kids get sleep. That's what I'd like to see kids get. But see, you know, Ezra, so Ezra, like what? Now we had to wake him up early this morning. So we all had to get up early and wake him up early. And the other time of the year, right, when he could sleep in, he's not going to sleep in because he's a dumb kid and his little body tells him to wake up. Bing, you know, what time, whatever time. So you lose an hour at the time when you lose an hour, and you lose an hour when you're supposed to gain an hour. And eventually you just run out of hours and you're dead. So, right, that's it. Okay. How many did we do? Anyone keeping track? Ariel?
I can tell you that you are on the Lungi Chuk. That's that right?
Okay, I'm impressed, right? Technically, that was number 6. Okay, so we're gonna have here we go. Say Danyi. Okay, oh, is this all one? Yeah, it is. Danyi Rabtu. Tokpe. Well, here, Tokpa. We'll say Dene Rabtu Tokpa. We briefly talked about Tokpa in the first class. And we didn't find a great translation for it for Dave. And I still don't know. Does anyone remember what Tokpa is?
Like state of mind.
Yeah, yeah, right. So it's realization. It's like path, okay? And we had it as like a synonym for path. And so it means like they have a deep ni Dave is da. Okay, day is that. So it's like tata, right? Like
tata.
Yeah.
That's it. Is that it?
Is that it? What are you saying? Are you saying is that it? Is that it? Or are you saying because that's are you asking me a question or are you literally translating it? Because that's arguably a translation of that word. Okay, cool.
Is tata the word?
Yeah.
Because they do use that in Sanskrit all the time.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Right. So it's to have a deep realization of suchness. Okay.
Suchness.
Yeah. Right. Something like, okay, suchness, thatness, isness, thusness, thustitude. I don't think you would say, okay, it would be something about like the truth that underlies all of that. Yeah, so, right? What would we say? What's this thing again? Great. And what would a dog see? And all the dogs and all the people leave the room. Then what is this thing? Great answer. Yeah, good. That's thatness.
When everyone's gone, everything is stopped.
Yeah, like what is the pen really when nothing's here? Okay. Like not just like, okay, who's right? Dogs or people, like, oh, whatever, they're both right. But like who's most right? Who's really right? Like what is it when no one's here at all? That's, you see, to realize that, you see, to understand that, like what it is truly, basically, okay, in a deep state of realization, okay, to have a tokpa about that, rabtu tokpa means very darn much, quite the tokpa, all right, of understanding the way things really is. He's got that, okay, now they say if there's like one of these people around, you go back and forth on this, okay, you'll hear different schools of thought on this, okay, and I don't know the answer, okay? I don't really know the answer, all right? But there's a tradition, like they would say if there's like one of these people on the planet right now, that it'd be a good time to be alive. If there's one person running around right now who had that state of mind, who had achieved that state of meditation, okay? So like that's a problem, right? If that's like what you're looking for in a qualified teacher, if you need to find one of those, and this may or may not be a time in history when there's even a guy like that on the planet.
So that's like Buddha, Jesus, like Gandhi, Martin Luther King type people.
You know, maybe, you know, like I don't even know, right? I don't know if they all make the list. I don't know if none of them make the list. Yeah, who can say? You know, I hope the Buddha did. You know, I don't know. I mean, and of course, you'd have to be able to read someone's mind and basically be that yourself to judge whether or not someone is that. That'd be cool. I would like to think Martin Luther King, you know, but I how do I know, right? But he said some weird stuff.
He's a little weird, you know. Like he's like a person.
Huh?
He's a great guy.
Yeah, right. He had whatever. He had his issues, but also
It's just like, I don't think we should expect these people to be realized beings.
Like Paramahansa Yogananda.
Yeah.
same or not?
That gets more complicated.
It gets more complicated.
Because at least some people definitely want to.
Martin Luther King Jr. said some super freaky things at times. I don't know, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Definitely a fan.
No, yeah. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door that leads to ultimate reality.
He said that.
Yeah, he said that. He said, all reality hinges on moral foundations. Not just all reality. Just weird stuff. He said weird stuff. Okay, that's not in translation. You know, he said that. He spoke English. You know, yeah, super weird, super cool. So I don't know. Yeah, right. This is a cool question, though. Okay, that's the cool question. All right, so what does it take to see someone? If a qualification for a teacher, this is a great question, right? If a qualification for a teacher is that they should have that thing, but you couldn't judge it, right? And you're like, Martin Luther King Jr. You're like, that's just a dude. And you're like, Paramahansa Yogananda. And you're like, yeah, he's famous for being strangely spiritual. So like, right? Like, so, okay, he gets to be on the list, you know, or like, you know, like Jesus, you're like, well, he was just a rabbi, you know, but you're right, maybe. How would you know really? Or what would it mean? Or like what? I think that you can make an argument that it says something more about you than about them. That you see them that way, right? And
How you say like you have the seeds to see that in someone.
yeah, and who would it be wrong to see that way, right? Like does Sam have that state of mind? Right? Would she tell you if she did?
that she saw someone.
If
that
she
way.
saw directly, okay, the fact that nothing in the universe exists as it does, okay, without having taken care of people in the past, okay? If she saw directly the fact that everything in the universe is coming from kindness, okay, or at least all the good stuff, all right, would she tell you, no, bro, I saw that shit, you know? Or would she be like, ah, that's indelicate, you know? That would be indelicate of me to be like, dude, trust me, you know? Or would she be like, nah, I'm gonna like kind of like bring you along slowly and get you to that place. If I get you there by getting you to trust me, then you're gonna trust any other jerk who comes along, right? Who's charismatic or can get you to trust them, right? Or, you know, or who can, do a really nice back bend. So would she tell you if she was that way? And can you read her mind? Can you tell by looking at her mind? Can you tell by asking her? How can you tell? How can you tell if someone has reached that kind of a state? Yeah, and those like historically have been totally problematic at times, like we get good feelings sometimes and we're wrong sometimes, like I don't know, on some level, right? You have no pramana, right? No you have no, you can't see my mind. You can't see her mind. You just don't know. You have like no data on the topic of whether or not Heather's a totally enlightened being. Like none. Right?
Is that faith at that point? Like I choose to believe. Like how you said, so I brought up Martin Luther King. I thought that was, and gee, like they're just guys, but then it's like neither one of us.
Were you agreeing to Jesus as an example, or were you just saying, Jesus to yourself?
I said, I don't know what Jesus.
I see.
That word discernment comes in.
I don't know. I have my own feelings about the topic, right? But I don't really know the answer to that. Okay. I mean, it's not a question that I can really answer, but I'll tell you, like, I can choose to have faith, but like, it doesn't mean like, if I just really want to have faith in, and I've seen this, if I just want to pick some random person on the street to have faith in, that's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, right? The first time I see them pick their nose or tell someone to, go back to Jersey or, or Mexico or some, like it's going to be hard for me to be like, yeah, cool. Yeah. That's that faith that they're an enlightened being, like that's going to be a heavy lift for me. Yeah. Would an enlightened being ever do something like that? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if someone could see like results on a level, if they knew that like getting you crazy pissed this afternoon at exactly 4:17 was going to break something loose in you, right? Would they say something like awful, if that were going to help you in some way that you couldn't see? I hope so. I hope they would. Yeah, I would hope, right? So you can't even tell by their behavior.
Yeah.
But at the same time, right, there is like a feeling. You said it's a feeling, okay? And I'm coming around to your side, okay? I'm not taking a position in the matter, okay? Which is not to say that your feeling is right, okay? On a normal level, right, I don't necessarily have the feeling that I'm sitting around with a handful of enlightened beings, right? But when I sit and think about like whatever, here I am in a position trying to review what I was taught, to like be a part of a conversation and that I know that I need to learn, right? And like how would an enlightened being come to me? Like what would they do for me? Right? Like how would they keep me engaged in teachings, right? Like, I don't know, it gets weird. You start looking at the people around you weird. Right? you start wondering like, what's going on here? And then but you see, like you said, right? Wouldn't it say something more about you than about them in a way, right? Like if you had seeds, doesn't mean that for sure they're that way, but like, you just can't help but like look at a certain turkey on the television who's trying to get your vote or whatever and be like, this guy's a stone cold turkey. You know, I just can't help it. I just think he's a stone cold turkey, you know? And, you know, maybe it's because I'm Jewish or whatever, you know, but I see Bernie and I'm like, he's kind of dreamy. Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh God, I love him. You know?
Yeah, I just see him like, oh, at least he seems like a good guy.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
kind of the fact that he seems a little mean sometimes that even affirms that for me.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And that may not, right, what,
He's just
again,
sitting there just this is all mad.
it's his seeds,
Like,
you know?
Let's make a party of that.
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah. Okay, last one's real quick. All right, I didn't really answer this
Can I
question.
just say like a what if
Yeah.
God was one of us reference in there or something?
What?
Yeah. What if God was one of us? Just a stranger.
I got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Look at you. Okay. Here, we don't have much time. Say, yeah, ma ke den. Ma ke
Okay.
den.
And
Okay. Ma ke den means like skilled teacher. Okay. They know exactly what to teach at what time, under what circumstances. Okay. Knowing well when someone's ready for one thing or the next thing. Okay. How do you get good at that? Probably you have to have a teacher who's good at that. Danny. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Here, Sewe. Doc Ni. Yeah, Doc Ni. Sewe Doc Ni. Okay. Yeah, Sewe Doc Ni means like Doc Ni is actually like it's kind of like Atma, but it's like and Sewa means love. Okay. So it means like the reason they teach is out of love, right? They're not trying to like get rich or get a bunch of people to tell them they're smart or look good, be praised, right? They want people to be happy, right? Like it's someone who teaches because they want you to be happy. All right. And then lastly, okay, Kyowa. Pong. Kyowa Pong. Kyowa is like disgust or exhaustion or something. It's like getting tired. It's someone who no longer gets tired of like teaching the same things over and over again because someone didn't get it, right?
That is a good point.
Yeah. I had a teacher once, martial arts teacher, 857 years ago or something. And yeah, I remember him teaching me, he was like, tell them 3 times. And if they don't get it on the 3rd time, they're never going to get it. Move on. I'm like, wow, that sucks. You know, like, oh, that's such a bummer. A lot of things have taken me more than 3 times. I'm really very grateful that my teachers have taught me things more than 3 times. It would be a problem. So yeah, you know, this is, you know, who has all these qualifications? Okay, I don't know. Okay, and I don't know, like, how do you establish that someone has these? Like, some of these qualifications are things you can verify, some of them are not. Do they know a lot of books? Okay, you can quiz them on books, that's cool. Do they understand the books? I don't know, unless you understand the books. How are you going to quiz them on whether or not they understand the books and then they don't necessarily understand the books in a way that surpasses your knowing of the books, which was one of the other qualifications, right? That their qualities should be more than your qualities of understanding the books, right? So on some level, yeah, right? It comes down to your feeling about them, right? But that can be dangerous, that can be misguided. You see it happen all the time. I think, I don't know, you know, I have this feeling, right? And my teacher taught, I I don't know. My teacher taught me to not think of him. I don't know, to try not to think of him as a pen or a chew toy. That someone can walk in the room and think he's an asshole, and someone can walk in the room and think, I think this is a realized being. You see, I think this is someone who has dogpa, right? Of, you know, denyi, right? Realizations of suchness. And that it would, on some level, it would say something more about the person walking in the room than it would about that teacher. And then, so is that, you know, is that safe or is that still problematic? I think it's still problematic, you know, like you still have to be careful. And with things like, I don't know, morality, kindness, your view of the world, I don't know, like the stakes are high. And what you'll see if you read the reading, okay, and you don't got to read the reading, but it, you know, it's there, is that the stakes are high, you know, like who we expose our like spiritual real estate to. It's like, that's sensitive, right? Like our little heart of hearts, that's sensitive territory. And we should be careful, you know, and you'll see whatever, there are flyers around, we put flyers around, you know, we put whatever, I put stupid things on Instagram for this, you know, and I'm not qualified like that. I'm not qualified for like one of those teachers. There are a lot of those things on that list that I'm not. And if we go and we take on these people as gurus, I don't know, can we learn from them? Sure, you know, like, I don't know if you can still, I don't know if you can do everything a guru says. I don't know if you can. And there are stories of it going well for people and there's stories of it going terribly for people. I don't know that it's a good idea. I don't, you know, I would be so scared to recommend that anyone do that with anyone. And yet here it is, this long-standing part of this lineage that somehow you should find someone. Now, all the great teachers I know really work hard to get people to think for themselves. You know, the Buddha's really famous for saying, don't believe the things I say because I said them. What is it? Burn it, scratch it, cut it, bite it, scratch it, burn it, something like that. Like testing a piece of gold, right? So I don't know. I don't have that's usually the discussion that happens at this point.
Do you think that this kind of like high level of qualification of teacher is also then you're kind of always testing those characteristics in your teacher, that like there's a degree, if they're not a true teacher, then you don't need to worry about disrespecting them. And if they are, then they should stand up to any of this kind of barrage of tests that you might put towards them at some point.
You know, traditionally, no. You know, I mean, I think there's a strong argument to be made for that.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but traditionally, no.
Actually, there's another point I want to make that I would do more of that. What if like this is also the like intensity of the qualifications here, like speaking to the necessity of like lineage. So I was thinking of this example of like Buddha, Jesus, and blah blah blah. Of like, I don't know anything about. I know some things about Martin Luther King directly, but I don't know anything about Jesus. All I know about is what his followers said, and that you know the world has changed because of this apparent person. You know, and so there's something there of like maybe you can judge all these characteristics, maybe you judge whether somebody knows suchness or something based upon how they're actually able to influence people. Yeah, right. You know, and you can never judge another person directly because of that. And so in a way, your teacher can kind of say like, well, maybe I don't have that, but I learned from somebody who learned from somebody who learned from somebody who did. And so we're just trying to transmit that thing. And so you are connected to that through that. And so you can kind of recognize imperfections there while also seeing and kind of like, when you look back far enough, you can maybe see like, oh, well, it looks like that person had something going on because the whole world has shifted because of them.
Right, well, and the whole idea of having somehow,
like if somebody just rolled into town and they're like, I'm an enlightened being, come and study with me, it's like, okay, well, who did you study with?
Sure.
You know, so
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and you get people who do that and they're like, no, I don't know. I just like, I ate a piece of toast that sat
And
here.
then I
with
feel
me
like I'd be
one
like,
morning.
okay, like here, let's have a barrage of tests.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like I had, you know, escargot one night and, you know, and then I woke up feeling weird in the morning and I passed out for a second and I woke up and now I'm enlightened. And, yeah, I you know, I think it's also worth saying that like the onus on us to live up to, if you could be a perfect student, you wouldn't need a teacher, you know? So like also to be like, I think it's okay to be a pain in the ass, you know? Like also like there's some, the expectation that somehow you should do everything your teacher says. And you know, any teacher that I think is worth, you know, like, and I shouldn't say that, you know, because I think there are some traditional teachers, you know, like I want a teacher to recognize in me what I'm not going to feel safe about, you know? And if someone says to me, look, I'm an enlightened being, like, they got to be some kind of dope to tell me, like, if you were an enlightened being, you would know better than to say that to me, you know? Now I think you're a dummy, right? Like, what on earth, you know, if you came to me and you're like, listen, I can read your mind, you know, and I can tell you know, like, whatever, your favorite color is purple. And I'm like, I don't even know if I have a favorite color. You know, like, what are you talking about? And I've seen this, you know, I've seen this. And, but I also think there's a way in which like we can't, you know, I don't know, we can all be teachers together, like for each other, you know, and like walking along a spiritual path. I do think there's something about the Sangha, right? Or like satsang, that it's not always about the guy sitting at the front of the satsang, but about the community. Sangha, right? Which is probably from satsanga, right? It's probably the same word. Satsang, right? Satsanga is probably the word.
Sangha of sat, of being.
Right. Probably the word synagogue comes from Sangha.
Synergy.
Yeah, there's something about like having friends that are working on it with you, right? Which is like, that's why I teach, you know, and that's why like, oh, whatever, we have a yoga studio, and that's why is like we're just trying to like learn and be good people, and to have friends around to say like, look, you know, I tried to be nice this morning and I made it, you know, a quarter mile from my driveway before whatever, I got a phone call that totally shook me. And then I had a bad day, but man, that quarter mile from the driveway was really good. And how did it go for you today? You know, and you're like, you know, and maybe you're like, oh, I only made it an eighth of a mile, or like I made it a whole half mile before I flipped off the guy who didn't use a turn signal. All right, I got nothing else to say really. Here, you have your little prayer sheet. I want to say also, like, anytime you want to come or not come, it's fine. Okay, you don't have to give donations. I studied with my teacher for 20 years or so. Okay, and my teacher mostly only ever really paid me. And he, you know, yeah, it wasn't in but it's a nice quality.
It's
Yeah,
rich.
Yeah, he paid me in cows. No,
Have a cow farm in California.
I didn't have anything, you know, like I tried to make offers, but I like left my life to go whatever, study in the desert, and I didn't have anything, you know, and he made sure that I had whatever I needed and flew me around the world to study, and then like later gave me a job that's like, it's almost a bullshit job, you know, he just pays me to be his student. It's an amazing, so, you know, anyway, mandala, okay. Sashi Puki Chukshing Me Tok Dram Rirab Lingshin Yende Gempadi Sangye Shingdu Mikte Uargi Jokun Namdak Shingla Juparsho Iram Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayani. And then Ngoa. Gewadi Gewokun Sunam Yeshe Tok Tok Shing Sunam Yeshe Lejung We Nampa Kuni Toparsho. Cool. Okay. That's excellent. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Ben. I have a nerdy question.
Oh, I like it.
Is Sewa spelled with a Y at the end? Because in my notes from the first time I took this class, I have no Y, but in the homework answers, it has a Y.
Which word?
Sewa.
Sewa. I should not have a Y.
Okay.
Tsewe. Oh, wait. Tsewe Dagni. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, Tsewe Dagni. Yeah, good. Put a Y on it. In the sentence, it does. By itself, it wouldn't. So
Got it.
Tsewa, the word love, okay, would not
Yeah.
have a Y. Tsewe
Got it.
Dagni, meaning they are the embodiment of. The Y is the of.
Okay.
So it would be like, it's almost like an apostrophe S.
Yeah, that
love
makes sense.
Embodiment.
I'm totally following.
Case mark particle.
Got it.
Okay, all right, cool. Good night,
Thank
guys.
you.
See you, Oscar.
Thanks,
I'm
Ben.
sorry about the time change confusion.
Oh, don't worry.
I'll
I'm gonna
put,
watch the record, the recording.
Okay. all right, cool. All right, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good to see you. Good night,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye-bye. Yep.
So you don't have to print.
Totally, you bet.